Hey, we're here to have a chat with a cancer survivor turned founder who has insight on money and investing, Mr. Brandon Aversano, who's overcome adversity, he's built a thriving business, and he's an expert in personal finance, investing in precious metals, and entrepreneurship. And he drives growth while maintaining a client-first approach. So we're here, and his website is thealloymarket.com. Brandon's all about scaling startups, business strategy, growth, and profitability. He's worked with JetBlue and he's worked with JP Morgan, Chase and Company with the largest co-branded credit card portfolios. Brandon was responsible for conducting financial analysis and reporting and so much more. He serves as a career coach, and he is here to tell us about building a business, scaling a business, customer experience, how to turn ideas into reality, and all the mess that happens in between getting all that done. Life is short, but it's worthwhile to do these hard things, to pursue difficulties. Brandon's here to help us. So, Mr. Brandon, glad to see you. Glad to be speaking with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Robert. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. And so as far as people, what they need to know about you and the introduction and the bio and all that good stuff, what do you think I left out? What are you so focused and passionate about these days?
Yeah, so all of my focus is on one thing, and that is on building the alloy market, which you mentioned a little bit earlier. Our company, we are helping thousands of people across the United States sell their gold and silver at a time when gold and silver are actually at the highest prices they have ever been historically. So that is what I am super passionate about and focused on right now.
Well, very nice. And why did you go into that? All the things you could do, all the, there's always the apps, the services, the industries. Why this?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I'll start by saying it was never on my radar. I am not a metallurgist by trade. I'm not a jeweler by trade. I don't have jewelers in my family. The reason I sort of ended up in this space was because, as you mentioned, I was working for JP Morgan at the time, and I was very unexpectedly, as most are, and unfortunately diagnosed with cancer. So I was 30 years old, diagnosed with testicular cancer, which was just such a shocking moment for me. Brought up a whole bunch of questions I had never asked myself before about mortality, etc. But the one thing that kind of kept occurring was my medical bills started to pile up. And so the farther along I got in my treatment journey, the more I needed some extra cash to pay down those bills. And so I attempted to sell some gold. I had inherited gold jewelry from my grandmother who had passed the year prior. And so I took those necklaces and rings from the 1970s that I was never going to wear, and I took them to a couple of pawn shops and jewelry stores, and what I found was just a terrible experience. I was offered basically nothing for the items. I knew what they were actually valued at. I was bullied and intimidated, and so needless to say, I left without selling anything and thought to myself, there has to be an online version of this because there's an online version of everything these days. And what I found was that there just wasn't. The online versions of gold selling were simply digital equivalents of their brick and mortar pawn shop equivalents. And so it was kind of a lightning bolt moment, Robert, for me, where I realized that I was having this problem. I was being taken advantage of in one of my most vulnerable moments. And so I was willing to bet a lot more people were probably experiencing the same thing. And so that was the moment that I created Alloy. The goal was really to create an experience for people who were going through something similar to me, regardless of the reason why someone would need to convert their gold to cash. But I wanted to provide a better, more transparent, fairer experience. And I say this very humbly, but kind of like what Carvana did with cars. They recognized that going to a dealership was just a really unpleasant, not transparent experience. And so they brought it all online. And that's what we've done with selling gold.
Well, very cool. And what a journey. And you turn the bad into a good, right? There's like your personal problems led to this, and then the frustration with like selling the gold. You said, well, hey, other people have this problem, so the solution that should exist does not yet exist, and I'll go ahead and create it. And you bring up like this interesting whole topic of like gold and silver and cryptocurrency and these like alternative forms of money. It seems like the last 5 years or so, it's just exploded, right? It's just in general just being spoken about so much. And like, why do you think that is? Is it like the the uncertainty of the future? Is it the fast pace of everything? Is it like the globalization happening? All the above. Like why is it just gold, silver, cryptocurrency is just such a hot topic these days?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, and you really are you're noticing global economic trends, and I would say a lot of what you said is true. There's a lot of instability around the world right now, which often causes, economic turmoil or turbulence. And so during periods of economic turbulence, there's often recessions or inflation. So the value of your dollar goes down. And so through all of that, people are always looking for ways to protect against economic downturns, and protect their own wallet. And so I find that assets, and I think a lot of other folks are finding assets like silver and gold, which carry sort of a universal value. They're just putting more trust in that than certain currencies. And so I think with all the instability happening right now and inflation sort of across the globe, folks are turning to more of those kind of tried and true currencies that have been around for thousands of years.
Well, fair enough. So you see these trends, these shifts happening, and you're like, "Hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'll get in front of the wave. I'll get there before it's time for me to play catch up." And so we've been talking so far about the alloymarket.com. So Alloy offers a seamless and efficient way to sell your gold, silver, and platinum jewelry, regardless of its condition. They're committed to transparency and fairness, ensuring you get the best possible value for your items. And so, as far as the journey upwards, right? There's I'm curious about how the cancer journey has been going for you, as far as the remission, the recovery, and then also the struggles in getting this to catch on. Because anything money, especially for us Americans, is scary, right? If you're defying that U.S. dollar, like, boy, you better make sure you're 100% airtight, because us Americans, we don't like our monetary system being messed with. So how has the upwards journey been for you?
Yeah, incredible, humbling, surprising, filled with lessons learned. I think to answer the first part of your question, I am in remission, which is really exciting. I still have to get scans pretty often, every few years for the next couple of years. I'm sorry, every few months for the next couple of years, but we're good to go on that. So I appreciate you asking. But we, our goal was really just to create the most transparent experience possible. So that's what we focus on at Alloy. What we do is, I like to say to our clients that we almost allow our clients to be in the lab with us as we test their metals. And so, the journey's been hard because we've had to establish that level of social proof and credibility in a sensitive area, like you're mentioning, which is finances. It is a very sensitive space. And so, we spent a lot of time figuring out how to take care of people who are trying to engage in this transaction. Because the truth is, Robert, most of our clients don't wake up and say to themselves, I'm going to sell gold today. That's not the catalyst. It's typically something like my experience, like I have a bunch of medical debt. What can I do to pay it down? It is a death in the family. It is financial trouble, job loss, liquidity crunch, that kind of thing. And so these people are coming to us at times of real need, right? And so just establishing like how we approach that, how we really bring humanity to that experience, that's just been, the core of our focus over the last year on the way up, or last couple of years.
This seems to be a topic that comes up with successful business owners when they have the messaging thought through in this way, those different levels of awareness, they call it, right? There's, well, if they're product aware or they're aware of you, that's near the end. But so many people neglect everything that comes before that, right? The problem awareness and everything else like that, the story of what led them to you, whatever that path is. And so
Yeah.
that's it's huge, right? It's so understated and it's so important. And then you're also alluding to just the funnel, the process, that making it easy for them, because boy, we all have to deal at some point in our adult lives with paperwork. I mean, I can only imagine with you and your medical situation, you deal with a process that is not fully user friendly. And of course that they try to make it user friendly, right? When you go to the DMV and get that ticket, they want it to be smooth and simple. When you go to the doctor, they want it to be. And so that's like, that's them sort of trying. And so we have to like obsessively get that system really refined and figured out. And so as far as like just getting Alloy to catch on? Like, what's that been like? Have you had difficulties with hiring, with the customer onboarding, with the regulation, with getting it adopted? Like, what have those struggles been as far as just getting some growth and traction in your company?
Yeah, I think in our company and kind of space in particular, it's actually really hard to establish yourself. And I'm not saying it's not hard in every other space for entrepreneurs, but it is a regulated space and it is a particularly sensitive transaction, as we've already kind of discussed.
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to get third party validation. We didn't want to say to clients, hey, choose us because we're the best. We wanted other people to say, I used Alloy. They are the best. Use them. And so we really focused on PR and a PR strategy and making sure that we were partnering with folks who could get the word out there, who were actual users of the platform and users of Alloy, so they could really speak to it from an honest and a place of integrity. And that's kind of what started to at least start the wheel. And then word of mouth has been huge, and then there just aren't many companies that are in this particular space that have a brand like Alloy does. And so we end up earning a lot of media that way because there just aren't a bunch of brands. And so I think just that kind of publicity and visibility with that focus on a PR strategy has really helped us early on.
Very amazing. And that is another, we're just full of marketing lessons today here, right? And as far as like the basics, the fundamentals, and that's huge. And I agree with you, this idea of the customer stories and use that to do your selling for you, because there's like the built-in storytelling. You're not just bragging about features and benefits. You're not saying,
Right.
hey, we're so great. You're saying, hey, here's someone who was actually helped in their situation, which might be similar to yours. And that's a lot more easily digestible because we're all self-involved, right? It's WIIFM. What's in it for me? And I don't care about the numbers or their percentages and how well you're doing. I care about, okay, was there someone similar to me? And can you help me in the same way that you help them? And so as far as like your own mental inner game, like it's huge. It's so important when you're an entrepreneur and dealing with all the stress and all the risk. And so what would you say as far as your inner mindset that you think makes you stand out? Like, what do you do mentally that you think maybe is better than others?
We are so purpose driven at the Alloy market. And so, I can't speak to other organizations or companies, but my mindset is one that we are building something that is truly helping people. And if you were to go on our, if you were to go on our Trustpilot reviews or Google reviews, you'll see that these people are so explicit about the ways in which using our services and selling their valuables to Alloy has impacted their lives. And so, at the end of the day, we all got to work, and work is stressful and we're all going to feel it. And sometimes we'll go up and down. But I think what keeps everybody at the Alloy market going, and keeps our kind of mindset focused on the mission and what we're trying to accomplish, is that at the end of the day, the work we do does really good things for people and it really helps people. And it's something to really be proud of. And so from a mindset perspective, it's, that is the focus on just delivering as much value as we possibly can to the people who need it.
Yes, you're not strip mining. You're not poisoning a lake with some oil. You're not blowing off the cap of a mountain. You're helping people. You're changing lives.
Right.
And as far as the future, what do you have coming up soon that's exciting?
Yeah, gosh. I would say we have a whole bunch of partnerships coming out this year. I can't share a ton of them, but we do partner with all sorts of organizations. So I'll give you an example. If you were that we actually did just launch this year. So if you were a client who came to the alloymarket.com and you wanted to sell gold, but you gave us a call and said, I have a big diamond in a gold ring that I want to sell you, we are not going to be able to offer the best value for the diamond because we're gold buyers, we're metal buyers. So we actually partnered with an organization called Worthy. They're based out of New York City, and they're one of the largest diamond auctioning platforms in the United States. And so what that means is if a client comes to us, we are going to help them get the absolute maximal value for their piece because of the partnerships that we have in the space. So that's really exciting. And you'll see more of those kind of pop up this year. And those are all customer value driven, right? Those are ways to get more value for the client. And that's why we're really excited about this partnership, because at the end of the day, they just improve the customer experience.
That is exciting, and I'm excited for you. You say, instead of us trying to do all these things, we have our focus, we find someone else who has a focus, we partner together, and then everybody wins because we're not spread so thin and we're not saying, hey, I can't help you, you're delivering this maximum value. And that brings up an important point because, like, in general, like education-wise, I'm sure you get the common questions about selling gold and people are like afraid to do it. So is there anything that you feel that people are maybe not educated about enough when it comes to selling their gold? Or is there anything like really important that's just like not discussed mainstream wise?
Yes. I think the number one thing that I encounter is confusion about the spot price. So when people talk about the price of gold, like the price of gold is hitting a record high today. It's worth 1 ounce of gold is worth $3,500. What happens is that people will weigh their items and they'll send in an ounce of, jewelry or necklaces or rings, and then they'll expect $3,500 an ounce. But what they don't realize, and what, I learned through this whole process, is that when we talk about what gold is worth, we're not talking about jewelry. We're talking about pure 24 karat, like the element gold. And so when clients are sending in jewelry, they're actually sending in jewelry that is made of an alloy, which is what our name is. And an alloy is a mixture of metals. And so when you have a ring or you have a necklace and it is 14 karat, that means that your necklace or your ring is approximately 58.3% gold, because you could divide 14 by 24. 24 karat is pure gold, 14 is not. Divide 14 by 24 and you get 58.3%. So about 58% of your ring is actually gold, and the rest is materials like copper or other metals that they'll use just to make the material stronger or something. So there's a big difference between like gold weight and the spot price, and then when people mail in jewelry. And I always just try to prep our clients for that, because unless you're sending in a gold bar or a gold coin, you're most likely not sending in solid gold. And so you just have to kind of make sure your expectations are in check, because you want to make sure you're getting the maximum value, but you don't want to expect too much, because they're going to return the gold to you then.
100%. So it's good to have those expectations and to have that education about 24 karat, and then what you weigh might not be it because it's mixed with other things, and then the spot price won't be it. And so you set those expectations, and it's good to know that going in. And then is the prospect of sending gold through the mail to you a little scary? Like, oh, what if the mail loses it? How much will it cost? Will I get it back? Like, what do people say about all that?
Yeah, so I totally understand. We allow anybody who is near, and anybody can come to our office. So we have a lot of walk-in clients that come in. But we are underwritten by Lloyd's of London, which is one of the oldest insurers in the world. So every parcel is automatically insured for $25,000. So if you mail something through the mail and it were to go missing, you are covered fully by our insurance policy. So we lead with that with our clients, that it's no risk from a financial loss perspective, because we'll cover you.
Very nice. Well, that allays some of the fears about alloy. And so as far as these next steps, you mentioned about there's the website, there's the in-person location. So if someone says, okay, this is definitely something that I want to look into, it's less scary than the pawn shops where I might not get so much. It's less scary than some of the, you mentioned at the beginning, there's some like shady outfits. So I wanted to look into Alloy, which is at the Alloy Market. And what should people know about like next steps with the website, with in person, what to do? What should we do now?
Yeah, it's a great question. We try to make it as easy and intuitive as possible. So if you go to thealloymarket.com, there's a big button that says request a free appraisal kit. When you click that, you'll just fill out a couple pieces of information like your name and address. We'll actually mail you a free appraisal kit. In there will be instructions, a couple of other things, and a fully insured, prepaid FedEx 2-day return mailer. And so that's what you would use to return your valuables to our lab, free of charge, fully insured. And the very same day that we receive your valuables, you get your offer via email and text. Should you accept your offer, we pay you out the very same day. Should you request a return of any of your items, we, free of charge, return your items fully insured as well. So it's as easy as clicking the button and getting started to request your kit.
Very cool. And it sounds like you have made it easy. And it sounds like you're on quite this noble mission to solve this problem that, geez, it should have been solved so much sooner, right? In the similar way that you said Carvana, like, why did this not exist years, decades ago? Well, at least now it exists. So you can go to thealloymarket.com, get that appraisal kit, get that FedEx return envelope, and figure out what you can get for your gold if this is a path that you are looking to pursue. That is thealloymarket.com. We've been speaking to Mr. Brandon Aversano. And before I let you go, Mr. Brandon, it's time for the scary part of the show where I try to put you on the spot and ask for a quote or lesson that has served you. So what comes to mind for a quote or lesson?
It's a great question. I think for any entrepreneur out there, it's very tempting to move as quickly as possible and just full speed ahead. The lesson I learned the hard way, but also am very grateful that I learned, is that clarity creates capacity. So by introducing more clarity into the organization and keeping things clearer, you actually open up space to be able to accomplish more. So that is my lesson learned.
Underrated and understated, isn't it? Clarity, making sure everyone understands and it's simple, which can be tedious, but it's worth it to get to that purpose and to not be spread so thin, to have that definite mission, vision, and values. So clarity, and let's pursue that. Let's think about that, especially as we go to thealloymarket.com. And thank you, Mr. Brandon, for showing up, stopping by, educating us about your story and about gold and about building and owning a business. So valuable, and thank you for being here and giving that to us.
Thank you so much for having me, Robert. It was a pleasure.